Everyone, good morning, everybody. Good morning if you're watching us on YouTube. Good morning if you're watching us at Talkie Girls Grammar School. If you're watching us at Talkie Girls Grammar this morning, as normal, if you can leave your chat down the side and mute your mics, that would be fab. If you're watching us on YouTube, good morning, everybody on YouTube. It's great to have you with us today. And if you're watching us, can you put your comments underneath or down the side there, and we'll get back to you and answer your questions as I'm going along today as well. Fabulous to have you all with us. Thank you, everybody. We've got questions coming in already, which is great. Just thought I'd pop in and let you know you're doing fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Letting me know about that there, little lesson wise there. Brilliant. If you've got any questions or queries, please come back to us. Today we are going through fresh pasta. We're making fresh pasta today with you, a lasagna pasta. And to make a lasagna, we're going to be making a tomato ragu, and we're going to be making some cheesy bechamel sauce. We're going to be layering all of those parts up to make ourselves a fabulous dish this morning. So I'm really looking forward to me making this wonderful dish with you today. We'll just wait for a few more people to join us. Good morning, good morning, good morning. If you're joining us on YouTube, we'd love to know where you're watching us from. So please put it in there, which schools are watching us on YouTube this morning, or if you're watching us from home this morning, let us know what part of the country you're in. We're down here in sunny Devon. Hurrah! It's a beautiful, glorious day down here in Devon. I'm looking out over the wonderful estuary here the estuary here from Exeter to Exmouth. And it is looking glorious down there with the sun glimmering off the river down to the sea. We're going to get started on cooking our wonderful food today. We're looking at skill focus, quite a lot of skill focus today. We're making pasta, we're making ragu reduction, tomato reduction sauce. We're making a bechamel sauce using the roux method of making a sauce. So we're going to look at different sauces today, different types of sauces, different ways of making sauces. So much skills to get into this one. I love this one. Lots to get through today. Now, before we start to cook, let's just talk about playing it safe in the kitchen. If you are cooking along with me today, and I'd love you to be cooking along live, but if you're not just watching along, maybe you've been watching this back again on YouTube, maybe you're watching this back on Teams. I don't know which one it will be, but you can always cook along with this anytime. But what I'm just trying to say here is play it safe in the kitchen. So there are three things you need to remember when playing it safe in the kitchen while cooking along with me live here, either say on YouTube or whether you're doing it from Talkie Girls Grammar. First thing about playing it safe. Is it safe to cook? Is it safe to cook where you are? That's number one. Number two, do you have permission to cook? Okay, so do you actually have permission to cook where you're cooking? And third one is, do you have a suitable grown-up to lend a hand who can take a responsibility for your safety? So do you have a suitable grown-up to lend a hand? It could be an older brother or sister who's been back from uni. It could be your parents with you. We'd love you to be cooking along as a family unit today with me for today's show. Class. So that's a little bit there. There's more disclaimer there at the bottom on YouTube, and what you should be doing if you can't cook along at Talkie Girls Grammar School. Fabulous this morning. All right, I hope you're excited. It's a Friday, okay? It's a weekend, and then we're fairly soon out of lockdown. We haven't got long left now. Only another week of these lockdown lessons, and then we're back into school, and I'll be doing these lessons from school. Really excited about being back in the school. But in the meantime, let's get on with today's lesson. So let's do this one with you. First things first, I'm just going to very quickly go through what we're going to be learning about today, and then we'll get going. So to learning objectives for today, very simple, they're on the board there for you there. We're going to be learning the functional ingredients used to make pasta. So the key part of this lasagna is going to be making our fresh pasta. Do not worry, I've got a question coming already. I haven't got a pasta machine. I'm not going to use a pasta machine today. I am going to use a rolling pin, okay? And I'm going to show you some alternatives, even if you haven't even got a rolling pin at home. So please do not worry if you're thinking, I haven't got a pasta machine, how am I going to make pasta? You don't need one, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that one without any pasta machines, which is great. Demonstrate preparing fruit and vegetables. You're going to be chopping up, you've got tomatoes, we've got onions, we've got garlic going in this one. So you're going to be doing some preparation work on the vegetables. and shaping the ingredients. Obviously, we're going to be making a composite meal here of 3 different elements that we're going to be put together into a final dish, a high-level dish. Why we're doing this one? Well, for GCSE, this would be considered a high-level dish for all the elements that we're putting into this one. Pasta, sauces, 2 different types of sauces, how we finish it off, how we look at this one. So this would be considered a high-level dish by doing all things with you. We've got no jars or ready-made sauces here. We're making everything from scratch with you today. Understand how to make a pasta dough? Yeah. Understand how to make sauces. You can actually understand some of the science behind it. So I'm going to go into some of the science behind what's going on in our foods to why and how you can make the correct consistency of both pasta and sauces. Right, that's me. I'm talking for way too long. Let's get on to the next slide. Let's get ready to cook. Right, okay, before we start to cook, we need to think about a few things in the kitchen. We need to think about 3 things again in the kitchen. Those 3 things are these. The first one is we need to get ourselves ready. We need to get our area ready, and we need to get our equipment ready. So equipment and ingredients ready. Okay, so we need to do those things right now. Now, the easiest way for us to remember all of the things that we need to do to get ready is this one, Hattie, Hattie. Now, for the eagle-eyed of you, you've noticed that we are using a package here called Hodder Education Package. Thank you to Hodder Education. This is the package that we use in school to present all our slides, educational slides. Right, Hattie, let's go through this one. And what does Hattie mean? And let's go through it. It's the same if you're in year 7 or right up to year 11. We still have to remember these nice little words before we start to cook. Can anyone remember what they are? Come on, we know these ones. We go through it every lesson. What do we stand the H for? The H stands for, somebody going to be quick off the market. Who's going to be first? Is it going to be YouTube? Is it going to be school? There we go. We got it straight in there with hair and hands. The H stands for hair and hands. Now, if you might have seen, we've got slides up here. I'm going to talk through the whole recipe and all our slides up here on the board. If you may already have the recipe. If you're at school, you've already got that through Teams and the list of ingredients and equipment. If you're watching this on YouTube, you've probably got the information there through social media of what recipes we're doing. But ingredients and equipment are also underneath in YouTube. Okay, so H does stand. You are correct back at school for hair and hands. Hair and hands. So now I haven't got a lot of hair, so I'm not going to worry about tying my hair back. But if I did have a lot of hair, I'd be tying my hair back now below my neckline, tying it back to stop contamination. We don't want nasty stuffs going into our food, so we want to stop that. We don't want hair on our food. That's disgusting. Ugh, no. So make sure if you've got long hair that is tied up, ready to go. Right, after hair, let's have a think about this one. Hands, also really important. Okay, especially these peculiar times that we're in at the moment, that we keep our hands washed as much as we possibly can for as long as we possibly can. But even more so when we come into food preparation. So we need to make sure we do that. We'll all do that one together shortly. Okay, the next one is A. A stands for, who's quickest off the mark? Who can get the A stands for? Obvious one. Got mine right here for you. And that one it is. Who's going to be fastest off the mark? Can anyone tell me what the A stands for? What are you currently putting on? Thank you. Yes, there's my apron. I've got my apron ready to go as well. So we're going to put our aprons on so we can protect ourselves and also so we can stop contaminants. And we don't want cross-contamination. That's things getting into a food that shouldn't be there. T. Next one is a really useful one for the final 2. T is for tabletops first of all. Let's do that one first. Tabletops. Have you got a nice clean tabletop area? So I've got my tabletops are all clean. There we are, nice and clean there. And I've got chopping boards. They're all nice and clean. So my work surfaces are clean. So if you please make sure your work surfaces are lovely and clean. You need to make sure that they have been washed down with some sanitizer or some soap or some spray or some cleaner before you start to work with these. But again, we don't want picking up any nasties while we're actually starting to cook. By nasties we mean bacterias. By bacterias we mean nasty bacteria called pathogens. And why are they nasty bacteria called pathogens? Because they release toxins into our food. Toxins into our food too much of become toxic, and there we have things where we make our stomach ill, we make ourselves ill, and we have food poisoning. We don't do that. So make sure your work surfaces are lovely and clean as well. That's T for making sure your tabletops are clean. And then finally, we've got final 3 come together. That's a T for a tray, which is very useful for collecting your I, ingredients, and E, equipment. Okay, Hattie. All falls under the French word of getting ourselves ready to cook, and that is mise en place. Mise en place is all about getting ourselves ready. And mise en place comes from the French, and it means to I know I say this at the beginning of every lesson, but it's very important, all of this food hygiene business. Mise en place means, anyone know, remember French? What does it mean? What's it mean? We'll do some French in here as well, with science, French, food. Try and do a lot of cross-curricular links here wherever we can. Mise en place, French for to put in place. Okay, so we want to try and make sure we have put in place everything we need to before we start to. And this is really, again, important when it comes to GCSE. And when we produce whole plans of how we're going to work, called time plans. And at the top there, we have our mise en place, which is our time to get ready. Okay, now I have talked for way too long. It's now time to start doing. So that is exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to roll my sleeves up. I don't need to tie my hair back, but if I had long hair, I'd be tying it back, or indeed wearing a hat. And I would roll my sleeves up. Now, this might all seem a bit peculiar being at home, but I know it does, but we are still teaching the correct way to be able to start to cook and how to cook. So that's what we need to do. I am now rolled my sleeves up. I am now going to hop, skip and a jump over, running in the kitchen, over to my kitchen sink, where I will go and wash my hands, and you can come with me. Let me just do that one with you. Okay, so just turn around. There we go. Turn the cameras around to the kitchen this morning. We go. Let's go round to the kitchen. Here we go. And let's go round to my kitchen sink. Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Let's go around to the kitchen, and we're going to just start to get going. Okay. So first thing we need to do is we need to make sure we wash our hands. And when we're doing that one, really simply, let's get some soap on our hands there. Put soap in my hands. And we need to properly wash our hands. And when we mean properly wash our hands, we do mean just that. We need to lather up our hands and wash like that. But we also need to go in between our down on the nails. There we are, both sides of the nails. We need to go down between our fingers. There we go. We're doing that. Good. Thumbs, don't forget those thumbs. Don't forget the wrists, everything to forget the wrists. So we have back of the wrists there. Let's make sure we're all the way over. Lathered up with soap. Now some hot soapy water. There we are. Just get some hot soapy water. Now, how long are we doing this for? Well, you know this now. We've been banging on about it for 12 months. So it is 20 seconds. Happy birthday twice. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Anyway, happy birthday twice. And there we go. I'm just going to do that one on the towel. We'll leave the kitchen. Right, there we are. And let's get that one dried off. Fabulous. Now, next one I'm going to do is, just because I want a bit extra there, I've got some hand gel. Let's put some hand gel on here as well, just to properly clean those fingers. There we go. Oh, good. Clean hands. Clean. Right, back to the work area. Let's go. Back we come round. Let's move those cameras around. Hello, everybody. Okay, back to me and back to the cameras. Right, so next stage is going to be to get those aprons on. Here's my apron. You've got your aprons. I'm sure. Do you know what? I'm going to wear my chef whites again. I always like to wear chef whites as well, just to cover those over my chef white jacket, rather. Let's get those ones covered up as well. Sleeves rolled up, nice and clean. While I'm doing this, can you go and grab your apron? Grab your apron, that's it. And then once you've grabbed your apron, you just go and put that on if you haven't done it already. Obviously, some of you have already got those on, brilliant. But the rest of you can just go and grab your apron, put that apron on, cover yourself up. Like I say, the last thing we want to do is to get any nasty bacterial infection, any nasties in our food. So we don't want to get ourselves covered in food either, do we? So we want to make sure we're doing that. Again, eagle-eyed of you have noticed that what I'm wearing today is a Food Teachers Centre. That's the organisation of food teachers across the country, the Forum of Food Teachers across the country there, who help you all out and teaching at all the different schools that we're at. So there we are, Food Teachers Centre. Right, I've got my apron, I've got myself ready, I've got my hands ready. We are nearly ready to cook. I'm very confident that you are too. So well done to you guys. Right, let's move on now. Let's move on to equipment and ingredients, because my area is absolutely fabulous, ready to go. Ingredients, and we'll go through some alternatives. We are still at the very end of lockdown now, so we need to make sure that you can still cook. So I'm going to look at some alternative ingredients that you might have, and alternatives you can put in place for cooking with today. Okay, so we'll go through that one together with you guys, so we can look at some alternatives if you want to. Right, so first one up there is an onion. Okay, so we've got onions. We've got here just some British grown brown onions. There we go, British grown brown onions. And we need to think about, as much as possible, reducing our food miles by shopping as locally as we can, and also as seasonally as we can, because we're looking at trying to help out our environment by reducing our carbon footprint. So some British onions. It can't always be the case, but where you've got the option, it's always good to do so. Okay, so we've got some British brown onions. If you've got red onions, that's fine. You might not be able to get hold of fresh onions at the moment. I don't know how your situation is about getting out to the shop. So if you've got some, we've got some frozen onions there. Alternative there, you could use some frozen onions. That's absolutely fine. I'm happy with if you want to use those instead. We will show you the skills of being able to chop an onion up, so you can do that properly. But if you you might want to watch that one if you've got frozen onion. Garlic. Okay, so we have some garlic bulbs. Here we go. We have some garlic bulbs here, and we have, let's get those out there. Not so local, but we could use some garlic. We've got some white garlic here. You could use black garlic if you wanted to. We're going to be not using the whole garlic. We're going to use a couple of cloves from that. Again, if you can't get hold of fresh garlic, you can always use. We've got some frozen garlic there if you want to use some of that. I mean, you could use garlic powder if you really wanted to. But again, I'll show you the process of breaking that down, pre-preparation of the garlic there, as well as the onions, so you know how to do that one, and hopefully you can have a go with that as well. Mince. Oh, mince. Mince or plant-based mince, I don't know. We might be doing a nod to veganuary and we've got some plant-based mince here. We're going to be going with, so you might be going with meat. If you're going with a meat one, then I would recommend something. We've got some here. There we go. Some. This is an Irish one, but this is a beef lean steak mince. Okay, so try and go as lean as you possibly can. And by lean, what do we mean? As low fat as possible. Okay, think about your health and think about your diets here, your nutrition. You need to be trying to reduce the amount of fats in your diets. You only need a small amount of fats in your diet. So I've gone with a lean one here. So you might want to be going with some lean meat mince, or like I say, some plant-based mince if you want to. Fresh or frozen, with this one, it doesn't matter. What we're looking for is 300 grams worth. Okay, so I'll let you go with that one. Tomato puree. Okay, here we have some tomato puree. Here we go, some tomato puree. So we're going to be using some tomato puree in this one. If you haven't got puree, what alternatives could you use? You might want to be going with a tomato passata. That would work with you. We'll thicken that up with a little bit of corn flour or some flour in that one, just to thicken that one through. But yeah, passata could do as an alternative if you wanted to with that one today. All right, what other things we got there? Some chopped tomatoes. So again, we've got some chopped tomatoes there for you. So you might want to be doing chopped tomatoes. You might want to be chopping up some fresh tomatoes. There's an idea. And there is some other videos here where I show you how to blanch and or cook them, blanch them, skin them, de-seed them, cook them again, and we can make your own ones if you wanted to, like your own chopped tomato or passatas or purees. Have a go with that one fresh. So you might be using fresh tomatoes. Some stock. So what is stock? Okay, so we've got some stock here. We've got some veggie stock here again. You might be using some meat stock there. They're like tiny little presents. They're like wrapped up in little silver foils. They are like little prezzies. And inside them, they are so jam-packed full of flavour. So what you've got in there is like, you've got dehydrated vegetables, lots of different types of vegetables in there. So we've got onions, we've got carrots, we've got potatoes, we've got all sorts of vegetables, but you can get meat ones as well. You can make your own as well. So we're boiling up, I've got a stock there over there, which is just boiling up. You may have noticed in the corner there from last night's chicken. What we did was we had a chicken, but all the bones and everything been boiling up overnight in a slow cooker, and then we're going to be making our own stock. So it's like getting concentrating flavour into a little block. So, however, you might have those little gel blocks, which are fine as well for a stock. We'll go with what you've got. Worcester sauce or something similar. Okay, so I've got some Worcestershire sauce here. So you might have something similar to a Worcestershire sauce. So what is a Worcestershire sauce? Well, we'll talk about that one a little bit later, but what's inside it. But it's very nice to add a little bit of flavour, that one. So I highly recommend a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. We used to live up that way. We used to live in Worcestershire, way up towards Birmingham. Lovely place to live. Okay, then we've got some butter or some dairy-free alternatives. So we've got that one down here. So what do we mean by that? So we could be using, I've got two different variations here. We're going to be using the plant-based one, but you could be using, so we've got some traditional butter, then some dairy butter, and we've got some plant-based butter. So whichever one you want to with that one, a dairy, we're looking at alternatives. Might be because dietary needs, might be because of religious, ethical, or other reasons why you can or cannot eat certain foods, but we're trying to cover all the different angles today. Plain flour, yeah, we've got some bog standard plain flour today. You can make pasta out of plain flour, but we're also going to use this one for our sauces as well, some plain flour here. Again, you could use an alternative, so maybe you can't have gluten-free, so you go free from plain flour. So we've got free from plain flour if you wanted to, if you were using that one and you would say gluten-free. If you're gluten-free, then I always suggest that when you're doing that one, especially when we come to making our pasta, not so much of an issue when you're making your sauces, but when you make your pasta, add yourself a little bit of xanthan gum in there as well, teaspoon's worth of xanthan gum, get a little bit more protein in there when we come to making our pasta. Okay, now we've also, you could get, just going to quickly move the camera over here. Hashtag Fiber February. If you've not heard of this one, this is look this up on Facebook, look this up on social media, wherever you're on. Hashtag Fiber February. This is all about in February trying to get as much fiber into you as possible, and we want to try and increase the amount of fiber in your diet, which is really important. Okay, so hashtag Fiber February. Now, how could you do that with today's recipe? Well, you could go for a wholemeal flour. So you could change this for wholemeal flour. If you're changing this for a wholemeal flour, which would get more fiber into it, then you need to think about adding a little bit more moisture to your recipe because it does absorb a little bit more in there. But we're going to be certainly using some flours today, which will get in some more fiber into your diet, and you need fiber to keep you regular. Okay, slow things down, speed things up, whether it's different sorts of fibers out there. We talk about that at GCSE, but basically keeps you regular, keeps your bowels moving as you need to. So that's not just about food that goes in, but how it goes through your body and then comes out the other end. Okay, we'll move on from that one. So let's say this month, hashtag Fiber February. Have a search, find out what that is. And if you've got any, if you're on social media posting photos from today, don't forget to put that hashtag in there. That would be fabulous. So we can try and promote Fiber February. Right, when we're talking about flour, we've also got this one. This one is proper Italian 00 flour. Now, when it comes to pasta, we'll talk about this a little bit later. This is like the 5-star pasta when making flour. And let's say flour is all about this adding fiber into your body, whether it's soluble or insoluble fiber, which we talk about GCSE, fast or slow movements. But this is, like I say, the best stuff, pasta flour. You might see it in the shops as pasta flour, as extra strong flour, but we'll talk about why you need that in a moment. But different types of flour for today's recipe. Okay, as well as flour, let's move back to the ingredients over here. What other things do we need to think about today? We need to think about milk or a plant-based alternative. So we got some dairy milk you might be using this morning, or you might be using some alternative. We've got some oat-based drink there as well. So that's an oat-based alternative if you wanted to instead. It's entirely up to you. And the same with it, you go through dairy, cheese. So you could be using some dairy cheese, or in fact, you could be using some block alternative. So this is a flavored block instead of the cheese and dairy alternative. So either of those will be fabulous. And finally, for the pasta, we just talked about that. You could be using eggs. Here we are, not eggs as an alternative. Or if you're not using, oops, there we go. Let's put that one down there. Instead of the eggs there, you could be using an egg alternative, which I'll show you in a minute. And then, like I say, 200 grams of this 00 or strong flour. So you might even use a strong bread flour if you wanted to with that one instead. That would work. But it's all about fiber in your body today. So what sort of egg alternative? So I've talked about it before. Let me just grab it behind the table here. An egg alternative might be something like this one. Here we go. So this is an egg alternative. So the egg alternative, it's an aquafaba egg substitute, chickpea water, basically. So loads of alternatives for whatever reason you might have in those lockdown larder situations, or if it's because of your particular dietary need. I've talked for ages on their own ingredients. Let's move straight on into equipment. So you can be setting up your kitchen while I do this one. I know lots of you set up while I do this one. Let's talk about equipment. Questions. Oh, no, that's from another class there just coming in. Right, let's go talk about why you're setting up your